Okay, so we have on stage VEX Robotics Team 47618C from the UTC Sheffield at Olympic Legacy Park. Would you guys just like to introduce yourselves quickly? Start with you, Jane.
My name's Jane. I'm the team manager and the competition manager, so I make sure we're all prepared for competition. I've tried to find alliances. I'll talk about that a bit later, but yeah, that's my role.
I'm the main builder for our team, so I work on everything sort of physical.
What's your name?
Louis Butland, sorry. So I work on everything else that goes on with the robot. We've got a programmer and a strategist as well, but they're not coming up with us.
Okay. And?
I'm Thomas Ferry. I currently manage the social media and sort of the communication stuff, so I've made the presentation.
Okay, and your other teammates are in the audience as well. Do you want to just say who they are?
Got Caitlin, she's the main strategist. Jack, he's our main programmer.
Okay.
And Emma, who unfortunately can't be here, she does fundraising budgeting.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So you've got a multifunctional team of 6 people.
Yeah.
Are all part of the robotics team.
Yeah, we've got, one of the things we're quite proud of with, we do a thing called Girl Powered. So we are either half or majority team members girls. So currently we've got 50-50 split of 3 males and 3 females.
Brilliant.
So yeah.
Excellent. Well done. Okay. This is you.
Yeah, so that was at our school for one of our competitions a few years, last year? I think it was last year, because you can see the judge in the background, yeah.
I think this this is this year.
You can see, that was our old robot. You can see there.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Before we changed it, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was a robot that didn't cut it. Is that?
Yeah, I built that in about 20 minutes in the morning.
Okay.
I got there and nothing was working anymore, so I had to rush to get that to work. So it was a bit of a scary morning.
Okay. Actually, is the next slide the video, or is there one in between?
The next slide was us introducing ourselves. I didn't realise.
Oh, yes, sorry. That's my thought. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's just a picture of obviously Louis and Jack working together on the robot. That was just. That was this year, just finalising some stuff before the competition.
Okay. And so just to explain then, you're engaged in competitive robotic challenges using this particular set of robotic technology from a company called VEX, is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they set a new challenge every year?
It tends to use a lot of the same equipment year to year.
Sure.
So we use the same equipment, but the game changes every year, and so you've got to, redesign your robot every year to suit the game. So that's kind of.
And the robot is fully autonomous. It's not like Robot Wars where someone's controlling it.
There's an autonomous period at the start of I think it's a minute.
Okay.
The robot's completely autonomous. No, it's 15 seconds. Sorry, 15 seconds at the start of the match where the robot's completely autonomous. And if you win the autonomous by scoring the most points in that period, then you get, I can't remember how many points it is.
6 bonus points.
6 bonus points. And then you've got a minute of driver control. 2 minutes, sorry. 2 minutes of driver control where you have to drive around with the controller you can see at the bottom there and score as many points as possible.
Okay. All right, so it's mixed.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. All right. Well, should we see what?
Should hopefully play.
This is the introduction for this year's game. So this is what this robot is going to be competing in.
Okay. Yeah. So when did this game? When was this game announced then?
This year.
I think it was just the end of the school year.
So
last
this
one,
year around July, August time.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
Welcome to the world's greatest 2 minutes in robotics.
The 2019-2020 game, VEX Robotics Competition, Tower Takeover.
Tower Takeover is played on a 12-foot by 12-foot field by 2 alliances, 1 red and 1 blue, made up of 2 teams each.
The object of the game is to get more points than the other alliance by scoring cubes in goals and placing cubes in towers.
The VRC Tower Takeover field contains 66 cubes. There are 22 of each color, orange, green, and purple.
In addition, there are 7 towers around the field. 5 of these are neutral, and 2 are specific to your alliance. Alliance towers may only be utilized by robots from that alliance.
There are also 4 goal zones, 2 per alliance, in the corners of the field. Goal zones may only be utilized by robots from that alliance.
Cubes are 5.5 inches across, or 139.7 millimeters, and are worth at least 1 point when scored in a goal zone. However, the exact value of each cube is determined by how many cubes of that specific color have been placed in towers.
All cubes start with a base value of 1 point. Then, each additional cube of that color that has been placed in a tower increases the point value of that color's scored cubes by 1 point. This means that although cubes in towers are not worth any points by themselves, the value of scored cubes in goal zones may change throughout the match. When cubes are placed in or removed from towers, the new values apply to all cubes. So, the actions of one robot will impact the potential score for both their own alliance and their opponents.
Each match begins with a 15-second autonomous period where robots score on their side of the field without help from their drivers. The alliance that scores more points in the autonomous period is awarded with 6 bonus points, added to the final score at the end of the match. The alliance who wins this autonomous bonus is also awarded 2 purple cubes, which may be introduced at any time during the driver control period.
The 1 minute, 45-second driver control period begins once the autonomous bonus winner has been determined. At the end of the driver control period, after all objects and robots have come to rest, the match will be scored to determine the winning alliance. Remember, even though potential point values may be changing throughout the match, VRC games are not scored until the driver control period has ended. Official rules and game information for VEX Robotics Competition Tower Takeover can be found at roboticseducation.org or vexrobotics.com.
To register a team, find events near you, or ask a question on the official Q&A, please visit robotevents.com. Best of luck and have a great 2019-2020 season.
Okay.
Well, that went on for a bit longer than expected.
Yeah.
But
I was meant to play for like a minute, but
I think, yeah.
guess that didn't happen.
No, well,
Yeah.
it's a 3-minute long video, I think, but we know the game now, right? I mean,
Yeah, well, that saves us some speaking anyway.
Yeah. So before we get into it, we could probably talk about how we started building the robot. So when we first saw the video, we had to do a team meeting and see what's going to get us the most points. How are we going to win this game?
yeah.
How are we gonna...
One of you's a strategist, right?
Yes, she's right there.
Yeah.
So what we looked at was towers is a big thing, especially in this game. It's called Tower Takeover. It's one of the biggest things in the game this year. So we thought that it's going to be the changer if we can get stacks in all our score zones and also get the same colours in our towers. That's going to get us the most points. It's like multiplier. You got one. If someone had a tower of 6 of green, they would get 6 points. But if we had a tower of 3 but with 2 orange, that gets us the same. That gets us 9 points. That's
Yeah.
less. So
Yeah.
we went, okay, so we need to get them in towers, and so that's where we went with this robot so far, I think.
Okay. So how much scope have you got to design the robot the way that you want?
I mean, it's infinite if you want to call it that. I know. I mean, you can go in any direction you really want. Okay. You can go in any direction you want with it. You can do whatever you want with the equipment that you've got.
Okay.
But it's sort of we started off with basically having a giant lift that went really high to try and do all the towers, but it proved inefficient, slow, and just didn't really fit the task. So we're going with a new design, a new sort of approach where we can stack all the cubes in this intake and then stand them all up to create a tower, which should hopefully allow us to do a lot more cubes a lot faster, and therefore, hopefully, win us the match.
So when you're planning this, do you start with strategy? Do you break the game down and try and simulate the game or play it and figure out what the best tactics are going to be, and then design the robot, the best possible robot for the tactics that you want to employ? So a lot hangs on that strategy then.
Yeah, there's a lot of thinking going on and trying to figure out the best way to do, because there's so many different ways to do the same task with the robotics, especially with the scope we have. We have loads of different possibilities, and the only real restrictions is the size. Like, we can't make it. It's an 18 by 18 inch, but it's only at the start.
Okay.
So since it's within the 18, we could.
So you can telescope it out
Yeah.
If
and
you want. I mean,
So that's what we're planning to do here.
Yeah.
You can see it's probably over 18, but if we flip
that
down,
folds in and flips
Yeah,
out at the start
yeah.
of the game as well, so we can.
okay.
so it could go anywhere.
But
so-
fitting in that 18 inches is a nightmare.
Right.
I must say.
It'd be like building a transformer.
Yeah.
Right. So you have an equivalent arena that you're going to face in competition at the UTC.
Yes.
In the lab with us.
In the lab.
In the robotics lab.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
One of the main things about this is I think is we try to also make a lot of things autonomous. So our programmer there, he's really good. He's really good at what he does, and what we try to do every year is try to make it as autonomous as possible, which makes it easier for the driver and easier for the autonomous period. Because the autonomous period, as you saw there, 6 points is actually really worth a lot in the actual game. Like it can be the make or break between a tie. If you had the autonomous win, you got an extra 6 points. So you have that leeway of 6 points to lose. Or it's really important.
Gives you a head start.
The 2 extra purple cubes as well. That we could just put that straight into our tower and we're done. So there's a lot.
And then, so the more autonomous it is, the easier it is to.
If I spend ages trying to get something aligned, or we can do that with certain to get it perfect every time.
So you just need to point it at something and tell it to go and do the thing that it needs to do, and it'll take over.
And it makes life much easier for me and the driver as well.
Right. Oh, okay. So it's not as if the autonomous period stops and it's now fully human controlled. You're allowed human control after 15 seconds.
I mean, I think fundamentally you can make it as autonomous as you want.
Right.
It can be. I think it could be fully autonomous. We did experiment with that idea for a bit, but that didn't really go so well. Have you seen the Google like mapping cars?
Yes.
Street
view cars with LiDAR. Yeah.
But that didn't go so well. So, but we do try and make everything as autonomous as possible.
Right. So what do you have freedom over the sensors that you use as well, or do you have to choose from a limited set?
We have sonar sensors, ultrasonic sensors. We have vision sensors, which can do also gyroscopes.
There's quite a few sensors.
There's a lot of sensors.
Right. There's colour sensors as well, which
colour sensors we can have.
Right, they're pretty important.
Yeah, especially for this game.
Yeah. And so, how different is this game from the last year's game? Were you on a team last year as well?
We were on a team last year. Last year's game was what's last year's game called?
The balls that are through the.
Oh, yes. So we had, last year's game was evolved flags. So you could actually throw balls at the flags.
Okay.
Your robot could throw balls. Like the Year 13 team last year, which got to Worlds, they had like a
scary intake.
A very scary intake that took the balls in and then shot it at the flags.
Wow.
So it's like the capture the flag sort of theme. But then there was also like a parking mechanism. So at the end, you if you got onto the top platform for parking, that would get you an extra 5 points, I think it was. Yeah, 5 points. And there's also cones that you could stack on top of these mobile bases. So there was a lot going on last year.
Wow, okay.
Last year we used pneumatics for the parking mechanism. Because when you're on the top of that tower, people can contest you and try and push you off.
Right.
So we had the entire robot.
So you were sucking yourself down? Or?
No, we went up. We went off our wheels with a mat on the floor to hold us down, and it actually ran really well. We were really surprised at how well that went.
Yeah, and that team qualified for the World Championships.
So the team with
do you know if it's Dom?
the intake, Dom's team last year, they got to Worlds with their robot because their robot could basically do everything on the field. They could do everything. So they were really good.
So Sheffield teams are quite. Oh, I'll go to the next slide actually, and maybe we'll show the achievements. Yeah.
Yes, I think this is a combination of both this year's last year's
and the other robotics as well that we do at school. It's got a WR at the bottom. Yeah.
Yes, which are currently in Shanghai at the moment.
Yeah, so there's 3 WER robotics teams out in Shanghai. I think they left today
I think
to compete.
All 3 are on the next slide. We've got Magenta, Robonauts, and I think Team Fab. Who I think. Magenta only set off this morning through Shanghai, but I think the other 2 have already been there for a while. But that just shows the sort of obviously the other side was the achievements that VEX has done, but obviously we're not limited to VEX. We've got WR, and the new one we just started, the First Tech Challenge. Okay. So we can try and get a broader interest in models.
So it's First Tech Challenge, is that a global event as well?
I believe so. It is. Sorry. Yes. Obviously, we're a UK team, but it's completely different on how it is compared to VEX. So, like, this is all metal, you screw it together. That's more sort of the metal frames, and it's like sliding. It's more like sort of Meccano in a way.
Right,
But yeah,
right.
it's more focused on the engineering side instead of the programming side.
So we've got multiple different sort of competitive leagues that are now global leagues, and we've got I guess not that many, but quite a few teams in Sheffield from different schools, and Discovery STEM who do WER, which is like a sort of out of hours and homeschooling institute. All competing from the ages of, we had them on last year, the kids from WER who were 7 and older, up to your age. I guess, are you A-level students? Is that?
Yes, year 12.
Year 12s, yeah. And the Sheffield teams are qualifying for the World Finals. So we've got 3 teams qualified for the World Finals that have gone out to Shanghai now. Your team qualified for the finals in Kentucky last year with VEX. You're now starting a new season looking with this robot to qualify for the World Finals again.
Yeah, we need to get nationals first.
Yes, yeah. So how does the competition, what's your competitive schedule like?
So the next one should be 17th of January, which we're going to Sunderland for.
Okay.
Not too far. And then I think after that would be nationals, wouldn't it?
Okay, so that's the regionals.
Yeah, it's based like, so you have your regional areas where everyone compete first, which allows you to qualify for the nationals.
The nationals.
Then obviously you get your certain place in nationals, which then allows you to qualify for worlds. But there are a few other ways in. So the skills challenges, where you can get worlds entries, national entries, and they're more paid for by completing certain skills challenges.
Oh, okay.
So like the fastest amount of points, the most points, like in a certain amount of time, which our team won at the most like recent regional competition.
And that wins you.
It's a possible nationals place. So if I think there's like a top 5 sort of pool where if you're in the top 5 and you haven't qualified yet for nationals,
you can get through that way.
You can get through that way, which we've actually done pretty well. I think when we looked at it earlier, any teams that are above us in terms of scoring, they've all already got to nationals. They're through. So technically, we are the first in terms of unqualified.
Yeah.
So that could possibly give us a place as well.
Yeah.
If Sunderland doesn't pan out, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there are a few other ways in. There's like you can get awards for winning, like by creating websites, and obviously like community awards. So we've run some workshops with some younger children from some schools around Sheffield, and run some workshops with them.
So you
around it.
can basically build up points by helping communities out.
Yeah, so if you win certain awards, like there's also like judges awards that you can get at competitions. So even if you don't win, if they're impressed by your robot or by the design or by how your team's working together, then there's also a possibility there that you could win an award that could get you to nationals.
Okay. So how many teams are you expecting to be competing against in Shanghai?
In Shanghai?
Not in Shanghai, in Sunderland.
In Sunderland? 16.
16?
Yeah.
So 16 other teams?
Yes.
And is it just the first that go through, or the first 3, or?
The top 2.
Top 2.
So because, you know how I talked about alliances earlier? So alliances is where you team up, you have to team up with another robot.
Yeah.
And then, so there's a red and blue team, and whichever one wins at the final match, that team, both teams go.
Right.
So that's how that
works.
So an alliance is quite an important part of it. You've got to find a robot that kind of suits is compatible with your
strategy.
Yeah. So like that's why we, for example, would want to find someone that can stack in towers if we're a stacker.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So you've got to find someone that's quite compatible, and that's sort of my job when I go to competitions.
Right. Okay.
So you've got to go out and talk to people, talk to other teams and see, do they want to team with you, or do you think you can work together well?
Yeah.
And so that's something.
And so you do that kind of before the competition starts.
You can do that throughout the competition, really.
Yeah. So just liaise with the teams.
You have the pre-matches, the qualifiers before like the tournament.
Okay.
So that's where you get set matches, and you get those matches with set alliances already, and you go to them and you work with a team, and you work on your robot, and that gives you the seed teams for the tournament afterwards.
Okay.
The actual qualifying, the knockout rounds, I think it is. So that's where you try and find out which robot works well, because you actually test out and see which robot works well. You go have a look, see other robots in action, even if it's not your match, you can go have a look. And that kind of gives us an insight into what robot might work the best with us.
Yeah. And then you have to approach them and see if they want to be your
So there's a bit of a social aspect
allies.
as well.
Yeah, that's great. Cool. And so, just finally, if you do qualify for the Worlds in Kentucky, you're going to need funding to get there, aren't you?
Yes,
So,
quite a bit.
presumably, you have a fundraiser.
Yeah, that's who isn't here, unfortunately.
So we'll distribute your information and your fundraising page to everybody in our community, all of our members and everybody who's here, because it would be such a shame to win through all of that and then not be able to go to Kentucky to compete against the rest of the world. And I know
that what happened to Dom last year.
they couldn't go, could they?
Wouldn't be able to.
Funding and
yeah.
exams and all sorts.
Yeah.
So year 13 is not a very good year to
Yeah, it
get through
was a
to
great
Worlds.
opportunity,
No.
but obviously, unfortunately, in a bad time.
Yeah. Well, we're aware of you now, and you're starting a bit earlier. So hopefully, I think the Worlds aren't until
Not at all.
May, June, something like that.
June.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's
July.
June-ish
It's
time.
a lot later this year. Yeah.
Well, that's great, and all the best. Good luck, and I hope your robot absolutely kills it.
Thank you very much.
The robot team from UTC, everybody, thank you.
Thank you.